Caning and suspension will be among stricter disciplinary measures against bullying to be adopted across all Singapore schools by 2027. New online reporting channels will also be introduced by schools to manage such incidents. These are among 9 recommendations by the Education Ministry from its year-long review against school bullying amid a rise in cases over the past 5 years. Elsa Cheung tells us more.
A case of serious misconduct in school. Just one among many that surfaced on social media in recent years. The ministry's latest figures show that from 2021 to 2025, the number of incidents reported each year stood at 3 per 1,000 students in primary schools. That's up from 2 per 1,000 students in 2019 to 2023. 8 incidents were reported per 1,000 students in secondary schools, up from 6 previously.
These are children who are exploring the world, who are learning how to relate to the world and to the people around them. Some of them will also have special education needs. They have daily interactions in and outside the school. So I think safe to say there will always be behavioral issues and incidents that we have to deal with.
Stricter penalties are part of 9 recommendations from the ministry's review. First-time offenders will get 1 to 3 days of detention, and an adjustment in their conduct grade at the minimum. Recalcitrant offenders may also be given up to 3 strokes of the cane. Mr. Lee stresses that these guidelines are not meant to take away the school's autonomy, but to introduce a more consistent approach towards managing such incidents across the sector.
We saw that different schools adopted measures to tackle hurtful behaviour and bullying, but across the board there were variances in the way we handled these issues, and understandably so. So MOE will work closely with our schools to provide clear protocols, clear guidelines, including adopting a more stringent stance on the disciplinary measures that we take to tackle bullying, so that there's evenness, there's consistency, but also a more forward posture when it comes to disciplinary measures.
Hurtful behaviour includes one-off insensitive comments and physical fights, while bullying involves persistent and intentional hurtful acts. When an incident occurs, schools will be given clear guidelines on how to manage the incident, such as keeping all students involved safe, conduct thorough investigations, and keep parents informed in a timely manner.
Greater engagement from parents will enable parents to understand that we take any incident in the school, be it small or a serious one, very, very critically as important, and that we want to ensure that the child, be it the child who is a victim or the child who maybe we deem as perpetrator, be reintegrated back into the class.
MOE will provide additional funding for schools to administer these measures if needed. The issue of bullying is often complex and resource-intensive. That's why the ministry is looking to provide more resources to schools to support teachers. Schools can engage external partners such as youth workers and pastoral care officers. MOE is looking to enhance professional development for teachers as well, so that they can better investigate bullying cases. These measures will be progressively rolled out from this year.
Now, students will get enhanced values education in school to develop their character and social-emotional skills, such as empathy, resilience, and conflict management. The Education Ministry says this is so they will stand up for what is right, especially when they see bullying happen before their eyes. Elsa Cheung again with this report.
How do we teach children to not be a bully? A tough question. But a class like this could have the answer. Students learn what hurtful behaviours could look like through role play and real-life scenarios, and what they can do in these situations. These lessons are part of the Education Ministry's Character and Citizenship Education, or CCE.
If they are in trouble or if they are feeling left out, I would go there and spread my kindness by lifting their spirit and talking to them.
This lesson had taught me how to interact with them more carefully and how to empathize with them.
Student leaders are also trained to help shape a caring school environment. Education Minister Desmond Lee says they will take the lead in looking out for their peers who may be isolated. He adds this allows a stronger partnership between teachers and students to see more upstanding behavior.
Upstream measures are equally, if not more important. And I want to emphasize that because values education, character building, all these are part and parcel of why our children come to school, not just to grow their intellect or to strengthen their academic subject expertise, but also to mold and shape their character and values and their worldview that they bring out when they leave school.
Mr. Lee adds these measures can help schools to identify problems earlier so that preemptive steps can be taken against bullying.
The Education Ministry is urging parents to take a more proactive role in tackling bullying, not just when incidents occur, through supporting their children calmly and providing a safe space for conversations. Calling this a key partnership, it says parents should work closely with schools, maintain good relations with other parents, and allow time for investigations to take its course.
If we can see how things are done in the school through opportunities that the PSG provides with the school, I think that creates the conditions for trust, and that allows the perspective of all the parties involved in an unfortunate incident like hurtful behavior or bullying to be able to focus not just on discipline but on the educative and restorative process, which is so important for our children to learn the right lessons.
The minister says parents working collaboratively with the school when the incidents occur or sharing concerns with the school helps build trust and keeps them involved. Parents say they should also guide their children to show kindness, respect, and be positive role models.
We need to inculcate these values at home rather than just sitting with the child and asking, did you do your homework? How was your academic? How was your test and everything? The narrative may need to change a bit. Ask about how was the day, how are they feeling? How was your friends? So in these conversations, in these honest conversations, things could pop up to say that today, my friend said something which could be a borderline bullying.
I think it's good to find out the route, to talk to the school, because we are not in school. So one thing that it really needed is, again, trust. When you have the trust with the school, you talk with the teachers, work with the teachers, find out what happened. Then only with the route we could actually find solution to it.
And for more on this, we speak to Assistant Professor Shan, who is a developmental psychologist from the National Institute of Education at NTU. Dr. Cheung, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, let's take a first look at the idea of an effective partnership between both the parents and teachers. That's talked about a lot, but what does it look like practically on the ground?
Yeah, so bullying is a very complex issue. So when it happens, a lot of emotions can happen from parents, but the important thing is we should step back and get all the information, talk with the children, understand what it is about, understand the situation. So effectively, an effective partnership would look something like really having a shared set of goals and values in mind for the children, such as telling the children very clearly that we as adults, we are prioritizing safety, mental health, growth, and learning. And these are important messages that we send to the children as well. And it also looks like, timely communication between parents and the teachers, as well as coming up collectively a safety plan that will support our children in bullying situations.
Yeah, so as you say at the start, stay calm, allow everything to settle emotionally. Yeah. So when should parents then step in, and when should they also leave it to the school to do investigations first?
Yeah, so parents should start to step in when they discover signs from the children. That would include maybe them feeling a bit withdrawn from social relationship, feeling a bit anxious, and also experiencing some physical symptoms, and as well as school refusal. So these are all very telltale signs that the children are probably going through some situations in school. And that is when the parents can step forward and start having that conversation with the teachers to find out a bit more about what is going on in school.
Yeah, and as we heard earlier as well, time and again, trust is key here. So how can schools then do more to help parents feel also more confident on their part when it comes to this process?
Yeah, so trust, the whole basis of trust is really having a transparent process, which we are seeing it unfolding today with an established framework announced by the ministry. So having that process is important. But I think what is important for parents as well is clarity. So things like, what's going to happen next? Who can I speak with when I have a concern about my child? And will I get updates when and so on? So communicating a very clear timeline for parents as well as a plan for, for the parent to understand how my children will be supported in this whole process as investigations may be happening.
Yeah, timely clarity and communication is very important there.
Yeah.
So we often hear also about parent support groups, and we did hear from some of the representatives from those groups as well. What role do you think these parent influencers, so to speak, can actually play when it comes to shaping a healthier school environment and climate?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is a school culture is not built through policies, but it's really built through people, the people that are in that space. So the parent support group, the parent leaders are actually in a very strong position as culture setters. They are already a bridge between the school and, of course, the larger parent community. So they are in a very strong position to communicate, essentially also communicating framework details, telling the parents what the processes may be like, allaying some of these uncertainties can also build trust within the whole community. And once we have that in place, actually these norms of trust and these norms of communication can spread very easily within the school community. I think that is where I think parent support groups can be that bridge for the schools and for the parent population in school.
Yes, so we've discussed so far the importance of both parents and the school, including the teachers, right? Are there other groups of people or anyone else that you think can really get involved when it comes to tackling bullying?
Yeah, so bullying, as we like to call it, it's really a whole society effort. It's a whole village approach that is more effective than just focusing on one or two areas or factors. So things like, community organizations, youth workers, social workers, mental health professionals, even CCA coaches, instructors, digital platforms, the media, all of those are very important stakeholders in this whole equation. And why do we say that? Because our children move from these spaces on a daily basis, right? From the community to different spaces in our society. And it is important that all of these stakeholders deliver a very consistent message to the children that respect is really non-negotiable. Aggression is not the key to solving issues. And that we have to model the kind of empathy that we have for people in our community.
Yeah. And definitely another group that was also mentioned in the story earlier would be their own peers, the students themselves. If they model empathy, they have that ability to be aware of what's happening around them, they can really stop things before it really gets out of hand as well.
Yes, upstanders are really powerful in this respect.
Now, you also mentioned digital world earlier, right? So that's a big one that parents have to really tackle right now. How can they ensure that they can stay involved, in the child's digital world and community and landscape without also coming off as being too controlling or intrusive when it comes to independence? Yes,
there is a very clear distinction between monitoring, protection, and surveillance. So we want to do the former part, the monitoring and the protection, but not the surveillance. Because with surveillance, you're conveying the message that I don't trust you, I don't respect you as a child or as a person. And it doesn't go so well because when the child feels respected, chances are they are also more empowered to make good choices on the internet. So we are really hoping that, parents, not to say that you don't, you respect the child's autonomy, let them do whatever they like. Control, monitoring is still important because there's still an element of protection. So knowing what your child, is doing online, not to look over their shoulders, but creating that sense of understanding that, hey, when things go wrong or when safety concern is an issue, I will step in and there will be rules in place, but I will tell you why they're imposed.
Dr. Cheung, thank you so much for sharing your views with us today. I've been speaking with Assistant Professor Cheung Shan from NIE.